exciting episode of The Stash, report from The Stash Project. Today is the 22nd of July, 2016, and yeah, we weren't here last week, as it turned out. There wasn't really a whole heck of a lot going on. We're going to cover it all today. Mostly kit announcements of stuff that are, at least, I guess, to me and to the people I talk to on a regular basis, weren't exactly groundbreaking. Because a lot of it was sort of speculation and teases of things that are going to be happening later this month. And as far as some of the kit announcements, or kit speculation, I guess I should say. And then, everything else could sort of wait till this week. This week we finally got some kits released on the domestic side as well as the Asian side. And, of course, we still have the things to talk about from last week as far as kit announcements and speculation. And, so it should be a good show. So we have, like I said, kit announcements, kit speculation, and kit releases. So on the speculation side of things, currently, right now, as we're talking, because remember, we're 14 hours ahead in Japan, the preparations are ongoing for the summer version of Wonderfest. There's a summer and a winter. Fujimi, as well as Aoshima, will be there. I'm not sure if anybody else will be there in terms of Tamiya or Hasegawa or anybody else. Aoshima stuff will be mostly on the sci-fi side of things because that's what Wonderfest is about. Fujimi will be doing pretty much their whole product line because Wonderfest, winter and summer are the only trade shows that Fujimi as a company seems to go to. So we'll be interested to see if there's anything coming out of that will interest us here in the automotive realm. They have a 2-page flyer for Wonderfest that I was hoping would be sort of unpixelated by tonight, but it has not been. So we'll have to wait till next week to see exactly what's on that. It looks like something could possibly be a car, but it's kind of hard to tell because they're doing some sort of artsy images with the pixelated thing, and it's just, it's hard to tell what anything is on it other than obviously boats. They're doing more 1/700 scale boats and things like that. One thing that's coming up after that, the next weekend coming, which will be like the 29th or something like that, is the Malaysian Hobby Expo. Now, this sort of turned into sort of a third Asian hobby show that everyone attends. And so it should be interesting to see what we get out of that information-wise, because I believe Aoshima will be going to that. They have a very large presence in Malaysia. Not so much a factory presence, but they have a very large hobby presence there. They do the guys from the factory go to a major hobby shop there, and they hold a contest every year. I think it's actually held during the Hobby Expo. So they'll probably be there. I know that that probably would mean BMAX and Belkits will be along for the ride, mainly because we've got this little flyer out of Belkits last week, and that is the fact that they're going to be announcing their next 2 releases during the Hobby Expo. I guess the 30th and 31st, not the 29th after all, but anyway. So they're going to be there doing their latest 2 releases. It's sort of unclear as to whether or not those will be anything like new, or just maybe further versions of, say, the Escort. There were also originally earlier plans to do another version of the Volkswagen Polo rally car, but that sort of seems to have been kiboshed by the licensing fee that Red Bull likes to try to extrude out of everybody. I know that there was a major aftermarket company that does a lot of rally stuff. They were, thinking about maybe doing the trans kit to turn the car into the next season's Red Bull thing, and they couldn't get permission to do it. And this is a constant, reoccurring theme with Red Bull, going after small aftermarket companies, going after small decal companies, refusing to let kit companies do anything. You'll probably more than likely never see the Red Bull F1 car that Tamiya did ever get reissued for that reason. Although I think it may still actually be, in the current catalog in the sense that they haven't sold out of their stock of it. But if you've ever really paid attention to the GT3 decals, there is a BMW GT3 car as well as a McLaren 12C GT3 car that were both done with Red Bull's permission earlier in life, and then they pulled their subsequent permission to reprint the decal. So now they have been the names of the decals sheets themselves have been changed, and the Red Bull decal logos have been scrubbed off the instruction sheets, and and the decals themselves are hidden now. The secret there is the Red Bull logos are still in the decal sheets, but they're just on a separate decal sheet that's sort of tucked away underneath stuff so that you can't see it anymore. And I don't know what the deal is there. For as much money as that company has, why they're so anal retentive about their licensing is just far beyond me. The stuff that Studio 27 or Rage models or anybody's going to make profit-wise off of a aftermarket decal sheet is so insignificant in the world. But be that as it may, be interested to see what those are. Obviously, the only Belkits kit right now that doesn't exist that's in the pipeline is that Opel Manta Group's Group 3 car, Group C car, something like that. I can't remember what the exact terminology was on the flyer, because the last time we saw anything about that was at the Nuremberg Toy Fair back in February, and I can barely remember what I did last week, let alone in February. But that Opel Manta is obviously the next brand new kit that will come out of Belkit sometime, theoretically speaking, before the end of 2016. Perhaps we'll see some actual tooling shots of that at the Hobby Expo next weekend. That'll be nice to see if there's some progress to be shown. Belkit's put up a few things in their Facebook page last week, and that is this sort of a technical drawing of the sort of 3D plans for the BT52 Brabham F1 car that'll be coming out by year's end, perhaps early 2017. All depends on where they are on this as far as the actual planning and whatnot goes. Perhaps we'll see some more of that kit as far as test shots or something like that coming up next weekend. This was also put out there, and this is a completely and totally built production shot of the upcoming BMW E30 M3 race car. So that's around the corner, a lot closer than perhaps we originally had thought. It'll probably still be fall before this comes out. I would assume they want to address that gap in the front bumper before they put the kit out. But that's good to see that, surfacing and being more and more of a reality, because there was a point in time where that there was, dubious, doubts of whether or not they were going to do that project at all because of the licensing fee that BMW wanted out of that. Obviously, they've decided to pay for it. A lot of that goes into the fact that the EF3 Civic run sold out immediately after it was sold. And the popularity of the MP4 F1 cars have also helped boost Belkit's, or not Belkit's, but BMAX's, profit margins there, or at least their income, so they could get the licensing paid for that BMW, and I guarantee that BMW will be a hot ticket. That is definitely going to be one of those kits, guys, that once we see it come up for pre-order, you're going to want to pre-order that early and often. There are going to be a lot of aftermarket decal sheets that are going to be done for that. There's a bunch of stuff for Studio 27 has out there that's designed to fit the Fujimi M3 race car. I don't know that it would necessarily fit that, because that BMAX kit is not the Fujimi kit. I've seen that come up a few times. Well, you're just reissuing. No, it's not. It's a brand new tool. If you can't tell the difference between the two, you should just stop hobbying altogether. But beyond that, I don't know that, because this BMAX kit looks like it's at least more accurate to the real car than the Fujimi thing ever could possibly be, mainly because the Fujimi car was just a pile of compromises. If you're not familiar with it, the roof is too low. First of all, it's been smashed by a giant as far as the roof goes, and then it also sits on a universal motorized chassis that it shares with the Mercedes-Benz 190 and several other cars, which meant that all of the cars have the same wheelbase, regardless as to what they look like in real life. So the proportions of those cars that all share that same universal chassis are awful because they're all wrong. So this will be the first time that this car will really be done correctly, and that chassis thing affects all of the 3 series kits that Fujimi did, because there's like a 323. There were several different sort of in-house tuning versions, like the I'm losing my track of what I'm trying to think of here, because the Alpina, there's an Alpina version, there was the M3 street car, there was an M3 race car, there was a 323i, and then there was also, I believe, a I can see it in my head, but I can't think of it, and I'll think of it as we go along here. But there were 3 or 4 of the kits released off that 323, and they're all wrong because of the nature of the compromises that had to be made to sort of, we're going to make a kit regardless of what you like. It's sort of the way that a lot of the mid-60s Cadillacs that Johan did are not 1/25th scale, they're box scale. They're the scale the box, the food that Johan made was. They're not as long as they should be, they're as long as the box could hold. So it's sort of the same sort of principle, only this is the same size as the chassis plate was going to be. So, like I said, this could be a fantastically popular kit in the sense that it's the first time it's been done right. Yes, it's not a street car, which I know a lot of people would rather have it be, but there's also really right now a very rabid race car thing going on, not just here in this hobby mecca that it is, but just in general. As you see things like Belkits surviving sincerely just on rally cars and BMAX surviving on just race cars. There's obviously 2 companies that have tapped into a niche of the market that is completely underserved, and they're becoming very successful at it. The 240 RS Nissan rally car that is coming out of BMAX should be here in July after all. We've seen completely until they built shots of that. We've seen the box art for that. It may slide into the first week of August, second week of August, just on distribution, getting stuff from the factory to distribution and distribute it out to various vendors. But it's done, and it's coming. Also, while we're on kit speculation here, the Lamborghini Huracan from Aoshima, the box art for that is out. There looks like there's going to be 2 different box arts of pretty much the same design for the Japanese spec and the export spec. So you're going to, it's not a big difference like a lot of the Lamborghini kits have been. The Japanese spec kit will be white, and the export spec is going to be that really bright yellow that a lot of Lamborghinis have been painted in the last decade or so. I'm really not sure what the difference between the 2 would be. Obviously, like the Sesto Elemento, you got a clear body with the export kit that is not in the Japanese vended version. So we'll see what the difference is. Maybe it'll include the photo etch stuff, because that has also been an export thing where the export kit will have the detail upset included in it rather than being sold separately the way it is in Japan. The Nissan Cedric 200e GL, which is just a stock 4-door mid-sized Japanese car from the 1980s. I believe it's 1980 itself. That has been delayed until September. It was supposed to come out this month. Not sure why. I've seen box art for it, so maybe it's not delayed, but the Aoshima corporate website has shown it as now a September release rather than a July one. On the kit announcement side of things, Ebro has announced their next F1 car. You may recall they've just released the Lotus Type 88 and the 88B in the last couple of months. So their next 1/20th scale F1 car is going to be the Lotus Type 97. Or 90. I don't think that's right. I've got to look that up. But at any rate, it'll be the next one out. It's pretty much the next one in line after the 88s. I think I wrote my 1 incorrectly here. Trying to get the internet to load as fast as I can in the background. But it'll be a full detail kit, the same way all of the other Ebro 120 scales. Type 91, not Type 97. Yeah, so that's what I thought. So that'll represent the 1982 F1 car. I believe that one actually ran as compared to the Type 88s, which were prototypes basically that never actually saw race time. And it should be a full new kit based on just the history and chassis architecture, if you will, of the Lotus cars. There shouldn't be anything about the Type 91 that carries over from the Type 88 directly, so that this should be a new tooling. So for the F1 fans, especially the Lotus F1 fans, you have something new coming there. There's no direct release date on several sites, but September-ish is what it sounds like you're going to get there. Also, for the month of September, Hasegawa has announced several more kit reissues. They're going to be reissuing their Jaguar XJR8 Sprint Type. This is sort of like the Le Mans version of the XJ8, except it's for, obviously, shorter races. much like the Le Mans version, this is a curbside, and you will have to source your silk cut decals from someplace else. Taboo Graphics, Shunko or not Shunko Models, but oh heck, I'm trying to think of who else does. I think Shunko did do a set for it in the past. I don't know if they'll necessarily reissue it, but at any rate, you're going to have to find your cigarette decals from somebody else. Taboo will probably do a set for sure. They're also going to be doing a reissue of their Omron, that's a sponsor, Omron Porsche 962C, and the another version of the Lancia Stratos HF rally car, this time done as the Lancia Chardonnay sponsored car from the Tour de Corse in 1975. So yet another version of the Stratos. Hasegawa has certainly been milking their Lancia rally cars for everything that they're worth this year, which is perfectly fine and acceptable. I have no problem with that. But it's just fun to see how many different little versions they can come out with. It's sort of puzzled the aftermarket decal guys because they really don't know what car they should or shouldn't do in terms of of what Hasegawa will reissue in the coming months. Let's see here. One more thing before we go any further. SK Decals is going to be doing several sets of decals for the newly reissued Hasegawa EK6 Civic race car. These three you see here are destined to come out shortly. I don't necessarily know if they'll be out before the end of July, but they'll be out shortly. The top two cars that are done, one in the middle car being the Mugen Motion car, as it would be known, as well as the 99 car above it, are going to be on the same decal sheet. You'll be able to build one or the other, obviously not both at the same time. The middle car, the Mugen Motion car, represents a race car as seen in I guess would be the Intertech series, or Group A Racing, Group N Racing in Japan, and the one above it is the car as it was entered, the same car basically as it was entered into the Macau Gia Race of Macau. It was basically found, I don't know if it's supposed to say found on the road dead, that's a Ford thing, but it was found after its racing career by someone in Thailand who then decided to race it into the Gia Race of Macau, and they just basically changed the car number and put some new sponsorship on it, and otherwise ran it as the same paint scheme. And then the 57 car down there at the bottom, the polka dot car, so to speak, is a version of the car that was actually kitted by Hasegawa back in the day. They actually did it. They actually did the Mugen Motion car too, but that's a very hard to find version. I've only seen the box of it in theory. I've never actually seen it in real life. So that'll be coming along, and then through August and perhaps early September, through the late summer, early fall, they'll also be doing these 5 sets of decals. The 2 Spoon Sports on the left there. The top one is obviously the race version. The bottom one was a presentation version based off of the street car. So technically, if you want to build that car, you have to buy the race car and the street car and sort of kit bash the two together because the presentation car had a full roll cage, at least from the pictures I've seen. Had a full roll cage, but it also had a full street interior in it as well. It had passenger seat and back seat, and it's not a stripped out tub the way the race car is. The other 3 there, the Take One, the Castrol, and the Reizo, are also all kitted back by Hasegawa in the day. Basically, they're going to be recreating all of the Hasegawa liveries. The one problem, as it stands right now in an accuracy sense, is the Take One car, the Reizo car, and the Polka Dot car, so to speak, all run on some sort of mini-light style racing wheels that are not in the reissue of the Civic that Hasegawa just put out. Hasegawa kit has the 5 spokes that you see here on the Spoon Sport and the Castrol car. So for the time being, unless they reissue the other kit, I mean, it's the same kit, it just has a different set of wheels, you can't really technically correctly build those 3 other cars. If the Civic sells well, I'm sure they probably will reissue it. I know I've certainly put in a petition, if you will, to the Home Office to have that kit reissued, just because, like I said, there other liveries out there. I don't know if Studio 27 has anything planned for the EK6 Civic, but there's at least no, let's say 3, but 2, 5. So there's at least 6 or 7 decal sheets coming out for this. The Shunko Motion Mugen car has already they've already reissued their set of decals. If you don't want to wait for the SK Decals version of it, but there's plenty of decals out there, and I think you would support the sales of the other car, especially if you threw in one of those other vintage liveries with it. So we'll see if before the end of 2016 we don't get the other Civic out. Also like to see Hasegawa reissue that Ferio sedan version of the Civic, specifically in its race car version, but we'll see. For some reason that's just lingering out there as being the one Civic they haven't reissued, and it's one that obviously cost the most money because it hasn't been reissued for a while. So, blah, 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 blah. New stuff. Let's talk about the actual kit releases this week. We've had, 2 on the round 2 side of things and 3 on the Revell side of things. All the Revell's kits are out. On the round 2 side of things, the original art series. I don't know why this picture's showing up so small. It looked a lot bigger before. Hopefully this is bigger in real life than it shows on my screen, because on my screen it's kind of tiny. But this is the Mod Rod, the Model A kit that originally, of course, had the a la carte in it. That does not anymore. They've retooled a bunch of stuff to make the Mod Rod version available again. It has new tires. They've retooled a bunch of parts, unlocked a bunch of parts, retooled the 4-cylinder racing parts. You can, by the way, build 2 complete kits out of this. You can build, of course, the factory stock Model A, and then you can build the Mod Rod, or I guess some combination thereof. But there is enough parts and chassis and wheels and everything else to build 2 whole models out of this, which is why you're seeing this price in the $30 range. But the original art series is molded in white. There's going to be a smaller box, regular, run-of-the-mill box size of this. This will be molded in yellow pearl, but it is not out as of yet. Would not surprise me if that actually doesn't linger into August, as they have been lately not reissuing both of them at the exact same time, so that the original art series has a little chance to sell, so to speak. From the month of July, this is the MPC boxed 1972 Torino for the Bobby Isaac stable sponsored. You can tell this box art from the original box art, because when it's shrink wrapped, it's always got the Retro Deluxe sticker on the front of it, and the side panels are not the same as the original box art, but pretty much other than that, it mirrors the original 1972 box art. This is the original 1972 MPC kit. It is not a version of the Polar Lights kit that came out after that. As we said, all of the Revell kits are out, starting with the wildly incorrect Yenko Nova kit being reissued in the exact same box art it was in before, except the Street Burner box art has lost its god-awful "when this light turns green, the streets get mean" logo that it had up there on the bottom, the top right. The bottom right, as you see, has the new skill level sticker on it, which has this being now skill level 5. Revell has just amazingly bumped up your modeling skills without you having to do a single thing. Look at that. You used to build skill level 2 kits, now you're building skill level 5 kits. Big crash upstairs. Going to have to go investigate that. But this is still, like I said before, when we talked about this in the monthly video, it's wrong in every way, shape, and form. It's got the SS grill, the SS tail panels, the wrong wheels, the wrong interior. Everything is wrong. You need to go buy a Copo Nova and put the Yenko stickers in the hood from this kit into the Yenko kit, into the Capo kit rather, to get an actual accurate Yenko Nova out of it. They also modified reissue, because this is actually a little bit more new than it's not, is this. This is the 57 Ford Del Rio Ranch Wagon Gasser. It includes decals actually for 2 different versions, so if you don't want to build this gold monstrosity on the box, you can also build a red monstrosity. You guys know my feelings on this, not so much that I don't like the fact that it's a Gasser, it's the fact I don't like it's not the sedan. The sedan version was just so much more cooler. This is now a fake thing, because this car on the box and the red car that's on the side box don't exist. They're not real cars. They're just graphics that were made up by the graphics department. I understand licensing and yada yada, blah blah blah, but ugh. You can, of course, also still build the original Del Rio Ranch Wagon if you want to go the factory stock version. All the parts for that are still there. There's actually 184 parts in this box. So you get a little bit of everything in here. Obviously, the big thing is the gasser in this reissue. And then lastly is the reissue of the 1980 Dodge Ram Charger. This is kind of cool to have back. Last time it was seen, of course, was in the Bass Pro Masters set, so to speak, the Gone Fishing box set. This should, I don't know how much it's going to really crater the Gone Fishing prices, just because this obviously doesn't have the boat with it. This is the one third quarter Revell release that I've actually picked up. I may consider the race car, the C7R, but that'll depend on what aftermarket liveries are available for it, as the factory Chevy Le Mans team livery just doesn't do anything for me enough to make me want to buy one. I don't have the C5, the C6. I don't see a reason to get the C7. So, and maybe if there's some cool decals out there for a privateer team that I'm not seeing, then I'll consider it. But I actually have picked this one up. We'll cover it in a acquisition video in the coming weeks. There were only 3 kits out of Asia. So real quick, this is the reissue of the Season 1 Knight Rider kit, Pontiac. The Season 4 kit obviously was reissued a little earlier at the end of last month. The next car in the tuned model series, or the tuned car model series, is this is reissue of the Toyota Hilux double cab lift up. Just pretty much a stable Aoshima kit, always a popular seller, and they just put it into the new tuned car series to make the catalog a little easier to order from distributors. And last but not least is the reissue of the Mugen Jax Honda Civic from Hasegawa. This has some freshly tooled parts for the front suspension and the rear suspension also, I believe, to lower it to race specifications. The original versions of this kit were just sort of a gutted race version of the street car, which meant it had a unsatisfactorily high body stance out of the box. Easy to say 3 times fast. Also, there's new brakes that were tooled up with this to represent the racing brakes of the real car a little more accurately, which is also another cool thing, and why I hope that they reissue the Mini Light racing wheel. It's not really Mini Lights. I think they're probably a Japanese racing wheel, but they're not really Watanabes either. They look more like Mini Lights. Why they reissue that version of the kit with these newly tooled suspension parts, because while the Jax Civic being back out will crater the Hasegawa Civic race car kits in general to make the ones with those wheels more accessible in the sense of what their prices are on eBay and things like that. The old kits won't have that new lowered suspension and the racing brakes and all that kind of thing. They'll have just the street car brakes with the street car suspension altitude and all the rest of that stuff. So anyway, guys, that's what's going on this week. Next week, hopefully we'll have a little more Fujimi information, see if that really is a car in their flyer. We've got a bunch more kits that are destined to come out in the month of July, of course. Maybe it might be a little too early to get anything out of August, information, because this will be, one more. I'm trying to get my calendar pop up. Yeah, there'll be one more whole show before the actual end of July. So probably nothing in the month of August as far as the new kit announcement new kit announcement arena goes, because we will have to wait until after next week's show to get the Malaysia Hobby Expo stuff out, which will cover more fall stuff. And again, we hope that Aoshima being at the Malaysian Hobby Expo, we'll get to see some of the parts runners, perhaps maybe some built pre-production versions of the Pagani and the Diablo GTR and the Diablo GT1 race car and all that kind of cool stuff. So stay tuned. More good stuff coming. We'll have some acquisition videos that'll be coming out throughout this week as well, more than likely, if I can get the time to just edit and encode them and everything. Anyway, hope you guys have a good weekend, and we'll see you guys on the other side.